today. Ian hasn't broken into ChillPoint yet. For now, this is ChillPoint.
I mean, I guess I'd have to scribble on the intro for that too.
Yeah, I was kind of half expecting my name to be scratched out and have Ian's name in there for some reason.
I can send you a version of that if you want.
I did like the modified outro.
Oh yeah.
With the cool S.
With the cool S.
Yeah.
Especially since Ian would definitely do that, but not like he wouldn't do it in the like. I feel like he wouldn't do it in the like scribble out and like he would do it with like an actual a font.
Yeah,
like
he'd
over
yeah,
top
find
a
it
font
stamped
or like
over
a
top of
laser
it.
or whatever. Like
Yeah.
I only have Photoshop and Final Cut Pro and so much time to get an
No,
episode.
but I like that the version, and it's like, well, while I'm in here scribbling on this title card, I might as well put a cool S on it.
Ian wanted to put a little heart by his own name. I don't know about that. ChillPoint, as far as I can tell, is a different universe of people.
That's true.
ChillPoint
We don't know.
Ian might.
That's true.
I like that when we were doing the recording, of course, you're using the standard checkpoint. So we record everything like it goes. Is the best way to say that we record it all in situ? Like we record it all to tape?
Live to tape.
Live to tape, yeah. So the intro is part of the intro and the outro is part of what we do. We don't edit that stuff in later.
No.
But then Heather has to edit in the alternate checkpoints.
Unless it needs to be modified.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't really have an alternate set of. I don't get to mess with the credits.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't know how to use. Was it After Effects? After Effects is super confusing.
There's a lot to it.
I do not enjoy my time that I spent inside of it.
Fair.
Anyway, hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, show where we talk about the week's video game news as well as the episode of
Beach.
Checkpoint.
Hey, Heather.
Hi.
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 Hello.
I couldn't think of anything,
Hi.
but I know I'm supposed to interrupt.
Right, we were supposed to.
Oh,
We're
I
supposed
see.
to interrupt Paul.
Supposed to do, yeah.
Help me.
You're supposed to push this thing right off the rails.
You made fun of me last week for not doing it. Now I'm gonna overcompensate.
We already did screw around at the beginning. We
Not
talked about
that much.
We talked about Ian. I mean,
It's barely.
now we're in the meta.
Now we're getting derailed about the concept of being derailed.
Yeah,
is that
into the
that's-
meta of derailment.
This is what happens when you say things like that. It affects everything going forward.
So, let's talk about episode of Checkpoint, of course, with Ian and Beige.
Yeah.
Because Graham and Kathleen are down at MagicCon Chicago.
And so should you be.
So, well, if you're like in that
If
area,
you
Yeah.
don't like magic, I
you live in
don't
the
think
Midwest.
you
Or if
want
you-
to be at a
yeah.
magic convention.
that's true. Yeah, if you're not, but yes, if you like magic and you are in the Chicago area,
And you are also fine with going to conventions.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's other factors. I'm just saying there are maybe reasons you wouldn't want.
I feel
to.
like these concentric circles are getting tighter and tighter.
Yeah.
So yeah.
the Venn diagram.
Look, if everybody went to MagicCon, it would be a mess.
Yeah.
It's true.
But they
I've
are
been at a convention where they can't let everybody in.
I'm pretty sure that
It's terrifying.
the Magic Con is at the something or other place.
The McDonald's, yeah.
Some downtown. They're at the McDonald's.
I think
Wow,
they're at
it's
the
really gone
McDonald's.
downhill.
Yeah. McDonald's off the L.
Well, you know,
You'll find it.
because maybe they don't have these anymore. It's been a while, but McDonald's comes with its own ball pit, and that's where conventions go, right?
Right, they go in the ball pit.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you're good, they go in the ball pit for an extra hour. So
Plain-
go look at the website and find out where it is. So
Playing magic in the ball pit is a little tricky. The balls keep like moving around and moving your cards.
yeah.
That's why Arena exists.
Mm.
Play it on your phone
Mm.
while you're in the ball pit.
Anyway, let's talk about the story. So, yeah, it's always fun to get Ian in on these because he's got a little different perspective on things. But we started off with Rainbow Six Small,
Right.
which
This is why.
I was like slightly bummed that strategic mercenary operational logistics, they didn't actually try to make Small.
They
Yeah,
should have
I'm-
tried
I'm
to.
a little
Initialism.
surprised.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, it's also why I called the episode small,
Yeah.
because I know the internet likes those words.
But
So does Rainbow Six.
yeah, it's an interesting take. You know, the like the Rainbow Six, but it's, you know, little cute sort of like paper doll cutout people
Yeah.
running around with like flamethrowers and assault rifles and stuff.
And like I'm of two minds about it because of the one hand I'm like I love like Rainbow Six came out with all the great like the bright pink unicorn rainbow stuff. I think they had skins for that like a while ago, right?
I mean, yeah,
Huge
there
that.
there are it's yeah, I wouldn't say that it has all been like super serious the whole time. But,
exactly.
you know, I would say it's relatively serious in comparison to say like Fortnite or something.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, most things are.
And so my two minds are all the gun boner stuff really starts to get to me after a while because I don't play a lot of games that rotate around, walk around and shoot everybody with guns and then get shot with guns and do all that kind of stuff. And it's like, maybe this is part of the problem. But at the same time, like I also like the idea that we're willing to approach an IP that we have and say, what if we reimagine it a completely different way?
Sure.
Because to be fair, you have to then look at Mario and Rabbids for the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
thing. It's like, we'd never give Mario a gun. That would be stupid. You give Mario a gun and all of a sudden you make one of the best XCOM games
He's
that's
got
ever
two
been.
blasters. He can hit two opponents.
Yeah, and it's like, so you never want to shit on somebody for saying, let's try something new with the IP. Tom Clancy definitely has a brand though. Like, and it's definitely all about everybody in the world wants to kill you and only the Americans can save you. Like there's that.
Like I this in particular, and you know, I know I haven't played the more recent Rainbow Six games. I know that the series has sort of progressed, but I was thinking about this you know seems so strange in particular because I remember when like the original Rainbow Six game came out.
Yeah.
And it's this like the original Rainbow Six game was a uniquely like a super hardcore tactical shooter.
Yeah.
It was actually, I don't know if it was even multiplayer. Like it was single player, but like before the level started, you would have like, this is my loadout. And then you would like plan your mission.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, I'm going to send my guy, you know, you go here, wait for this, go here. And it was like, you know, basically one shot will kill you.
Yes.
Like, relatively realistic in that way.
Exactly.
Like that was the sort of the gimmick of it was that it was like super realistic, I guess.
It is
for the
more
time.
realistic than a lot of other shooter games. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and trying to really capture that feeling of the sort of strategic, tactical command, rather
Yeah.
than just, you know, Doom running around firing off your missile launchers.
Mm-hmm.
And so the going from that to this Rainbow Six Small is just like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah, this is it's been a long evolution.
But I have it. I'm trying to find it on the Wikipedia article. Which book is Rainbow Six Small based off of? He was born in like the 40s. I don't think he used the word small.
That's the one. That's the one where he took some mushrooms that he didn't know where they came from, ended up in kind of a Mario Wonder sort of situation.
I think it's great that when you can choose to not be precious about an IP, and in the hopes of that we can use this to appeal to a larger market or to a different. It's like when Lara Croft Go and Hitman Go and all that came out.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, well, everyone's used to those games being a certain style of game, but what if we what if we take that same IP but we adapt it to a game that makes a little more sense for mobile play?
Yeah.
Like I played Cypher 007 and it's the same kind of idea. They've got an Apple Arcade and it's that like, you know, isometric mode. You're controlling your James Bond to go around and like, you know, investigate stuff and pick things up, and you're running away from people who are trying to kill you. And it's all very like, it doesn't feel like GoldenEye at all, right? It's another different kind of take on that. And so I like that, you know, they're Ubisoft's willing to say we'll try something different.
Where's my James Bond game where I get to make him dress up and dance around for my rhythm games?
And that's the other thing, right? It's
Where's
like
my IP for that?
Playing with the IP sometimes does mean that it's like you're still staying within what the focus of the IP is. You're not ever going to see a Rainbow Six rhythm game.
Now,
why not?
I mean, the other thing that is, you know, one of those, when there is this sort of tonal mismatch, there's the question of like, I'd be curious what the sort of gestation is. Like, I can imagine, you know, that this was originally going to be either an unbranded thing or a different license. And then they were like, you know what? Let's replace, you know, sort of Mario 2 style, replace the characters with the anti-terrorism people. Rather than, you know, whatever other little dudes they had. And it's like suddenly it's a Rainbow Six game.
And funny thing about that, as maybe a hint towards that, is there has been, because everyone got really into Rainbow Six Siege for a while there, like that, you know, that saw a resurgence. And then a lot of, that's the thing about making operators and stuff and about having personalities tied to things like with Overwatch and League of Legends and everything is that rather than being, I'm a generic person who is wearing a generic whatever, it's like, no, if you put a lot of characters into your game and you give people like, you're playing as so-and-so, you're playing as so-and-so,
right?
That lets them build their own waifus. And the amount of like chibi fan art, the super deformed fan art that I've seen for Rainbow Six, that I'm like, Small just got announced, but the internet is teeming with pictures of the people have drawn their characters as little tiny super deformed whatevers. And I'm like, if you work for the Rainbow Six team,
so
you might have seen a lot of this fan art and thought, hey, actually, that's really funny.
Right. Or at least the idea that like, okay, the fan community is, you know, could possibly might is receptive to this. They aren't like super serious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is fun.
A fan community, not super serious.
Yeah. Well, not super
I
serious
don't
about
believe you.
this particular aspect. They aren't super serious.
Sounds like a lie on the internet to me, and I'm an expert. I have a whole house of them on a different show.
But anyway, I mean, there's the news is that this game it exists. By the way, like it's out on Net. It's
a Netflix game.
It's a Netflix thing. So if you have Netflix, you can just get it for free.
Actually,
some people in the comments were saying that it was actually pretty fun. So I look forward to seeing whether it actually sort of sustain itself as a game, whether people will get into it. Kingmakers, you know, it's interesting. Like we talk about sometimes that like, you know, that game announcements usually aren't that interesting for ChillPoint because it's like this game exists. That being said, 2 stories this week were just this game exists.
Yeah,
because when the game itself seems so silly. It's like, oh, hey, this is a fun thing.
Yeah.
Kingmakers, which is apparently where you are. I mean, we don't know what the sort of story of it is, but apparently you're like driving a truck around through what looks like. It almost looks like, was it Musu? A
Muso game.
Muso, like it almost looks like a Dynasty Warrior style, like giant battle.
Yeah.
Except instead of a guy with super attacks or whatever, you're just in a truck.
Yeah.
You're just driving around, or you have like a missile launcher or a grenade launcher, or you have a like attack helicopter.
Yeah. I mean, watching the beginning of it, watching the beginning of the Kingmakers trailer, and you get sucked in this like, okay, so I see what you've done. You've Kingmakers, and you have this whole thing of
Like-
it's just like it's a big battler kind of thing where you're going to just push armies of people at each other and you're going to try to win, and all of a sudden a truck comes out of nowhere and runs into everything. You're like, oh, this is going to be like that one where it's like, who would win in a fight,
Right.
a truck versus 1,000 T-Rexes, and then you realize, no, there actually is more of a story to this game. It's not just a sandbox to play in. And then the helicopter gunship shows up, and I'm like, I don't actually know what's going on in this game anymore.
And then at the end of the trailer, he gets like time warped to the future. Mm-hmm. So that's like a whole other thing.
Because
Wow.
I think it's supposed to be that's where he's from, but I'm like, but is that...
But like the truck and guns and stuff are like contemporary.
They're contemporary, right? So it's like, well, so what is actually happening? Is he getting to go back in time because he got chosen to do that by the people in the future? Or I don't know.
is there actually a story to this game? I
Yes.
just thought it was fighting.
Nobody knows what the story is so
But
far based on the trailer.
presumably there is a story.
Yeah, the whole point is you're trying to change the past in order to change the future. That's the premise, and it's like that's a very like well-worn premise.
Yeah,
The
but it doesn't
execution's
usually go
very different.
Well.
Yeah,
And it's also like, in the realm of like, ooh, be careful if you go into the past, you don't want to mess with anything. Like, I feel like, driving your truck through whatever, the Battle of Agincourt.
yeah.
That might be considered to be, the butterfly flapping its wings.
Yeah.
Like, that's gonna make that's gonna have some ramifications.
And it didn't
Maybe closer to the Firebird flapping its wings.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't make it clear at all because I was like, it looks like he's just hitting anybody. Like, it didn't even look like I'm on the side of one group. Like, and I get why people are also making the Army of Darkness comparison because
Right.
the guy looks very much like has that kind of Ash feeling.
I mean, you only really see
Guy.
him from the back,
Yeah.
right? Because it's a third person.
But for
Yeah.
a minute, I thought that's what this game was an Army of Darkness thing, because when the truck showed up, and I'm like, what? And then I see the guy running around with a shotgun, and I'm like, wait. And I was like, it's happening, everything's happening so fast. I'm like, does this guy have a chainsaw on his arm? Because it looks like he has everything strapped across his back, and he's kind of wearing the same clothes that Ash does in Army of Darkness. And I'm like, is this what this game actually is, that we're not told this yet? Or is that what's going to happen? Or anyway, yeah.
So anyway, the funny thing with this trailer, like, I actually saw the first bit of this trailer before I knew what it was, and I clicked away from it. Like, it was like, we don't. It's because it starts with like, we don't know where he came from.
Yeah.
But he taught us thing, and I'm like, boring. Another one of these stupid things. Skip. And so like, I didn't, and Kingmakers is a very like generic name.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can get really funny commercials where they say things like that, where they're like, nobody knows why he's here. And he's like, I'm going to kill everyone. Nobody knows what he could be up to. And I'm like, didn't he just tell you
Yeah.
his
Yeah,
goals,
tell
like,
them.
right there? Like,
Anyway, so we'll see what happens with that. Somebody did mention I think in the comments or whatever that it's like, was this, you guys are just talking about this game, it's like a sponsored post or something. It's like, nope, we don't get paid for the.
No, we don't.
We don't do the.
well, for one thing,
we'll tell you if we do a sponsored thing.
yeah, if it's illegal to not notify a sponsored thing like that on YouTube.
And we just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
So yeah. Helldivers 2
Yeah.
is a game that I think they're going to be playing it on
CTS or
CTS in
something.
the near future.
Hopefully, assuming that there's room.
Assuming there's room.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll get what, because I don't know if you've seen the Tarkov streams where James tries to queue, but the servers are so full or not working because it's wipe day that he just plays a different game for a long time.
Yeah.
He plays
And
like
then doesn't tell
GeoGuessr.
me, and then I don't write it down.
Good times.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Helldivers 2 is
The new Lethal Company. Let's just
the
be
new,
honest.
the new hotness.
They did update the cap
Yeah.
for
They're-
the queue, though,
And they've been,
recently.
we talked about, did the story during ChillPoint last week, that where the CEO was like, we're working hard on stuff, but also I had to send people home so they could sleep.
Yeah.
But we're going, we're working, and in this this thing, he's talking about how it's like, it's something like a 5-person team is like their not the whole developers, but like their back end server team, and he's saying they've I think quintupled the capacity that they were from what they were originally launching with over a course of a week.
And so he'd made new comments that were more expressive about his opinion about how you should treat employees and contractors and stuff. And I included the part about the employees and not the part about the contractors, because that's
what was the contractor part?
So it's the thing about the employees is that he's like, it's a bad idea to hire a bunch of people as employees and then just lay them off when you're done using them, right?
Yes. Short-term
independent contractors on short-term contracts, that's what that's for, is to do things that way. And it's like, so the idea of I don't like the idea of hiring a bunch of people and then laying them off. And it's like, that's great. That's fantastic. That idea of hire a short-term independent contractor. That's a thing where it's like, you then understand, and the person who's working for you understands what your agreement is with each other. Mm-hmm. And those things get abused as well.
Yes, right. That's the cynical take that I see heavily when people are like, oh, well, not hiring employees, but they're just going to hire a bunch of contractors and boot them out too. And it's
they don't, and they work them 6 months at a time, on contract.
Yeah.
Okay, and the thing is, I had a job where I was in a union, but I was a short-term contractor because that was the only way that my job could get classified. And I worked at that job for about 3 years, a little more actually.
In 6-month contracts.
In 6-month contracts at a time, because that was what could be negotiated and managed. And I was happy to have the job because it was a very good job. It was a union job. I was getting paid union rates and everything else. But the union understands a need for short-term independent contractors. And the company is like, yes, the university understood there's a need for those things. And I was caught in a situation where it's like, can I get a full contract? Or we're trying to negotiate a full contract, but also hiring policies at the university and the way that the union needs things handled and everything is these are in conflict, and you're kind of getting caught in a bad position. And ultimately I had to leave that job because the contract was up finally.
And it's also it depends, the kinds of work you were doing wasn't short-term work. You were just doing the work.
It started as, we just want you to do this for 2 weeks. We want you to do this for a month and a half. And eventually it's no, we want you to manage all this stuff for a while.
But there was, it wasn't there's suddenly a whole bunch more kids in the school, so we need to bring on people for 6 months, but that's it.
Exactly.
It's there's sort of a difference in expectation.
You get budget problems there, where it's you only have so much budget for employees, but then you have budget for contracts, which is
more of that weird, the weird sort of accounting stuff as opposed to the actual.
And the thing is, I don't begrudge the university or the union anything, neither of them anything for the position that I ended up in, which is I think a position that even the people. My boss didn't want me in that position. I don't think the union wanted me in that position either. But it was policies are policies, and this is one where you're ending up in a bad position.
Sure.
So I feel like the read that I have on Johan Pilestead is that he probably has a similar idea of, I'm going to hire people as full-time employees or part-time employees or whatever, but I'm going to hire my employees to do a job that I know long-term that I want them to do. And if I need people to contract, then I will start looking for people to contract.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say oh, we'll never hire, always hire people that you can keep forever kind of idea. And then 3 months later being shit, I need a bunch of contractors, and everyone's going to notice having me said all these things about never hire contractors. It's
Look,
you never said that.
I know that there are ways that you can abuse all of these things.
Yeah.
And I think we should definitely praise people when they do good things.
Yes.
We should still criticize them when they don't.
Absolutely.
But I think seeing the praise for something and not looking into the thing and then just being cynical about what they're probably doing wrong is a bad take. That's a bad take.
And
I know that's not a take you're having,
no.
but that is a take I see
in the comments sometimes. Yeah.
And it really annoys me to see people who are just like, well, they're probably just doing this other thing then. It's like,
And if we've
Shut up.
had and apparently Arrowhead has gone viral before. I didn't know this. I'd never played Magicka,
Oh, okay.
but Magicka was a game that people really loved, and it went big.
Okay.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, I don't remember it. But here they are again doing the same kind of thing of that we've come up with a gameplay loop that's compelling, that is fun and ridiculous. And I mean, at this point, yeah, the CEO is painting a target on his own back. It's like, I'm going to say these things about employment. I'm going to get my thoughts out there about how I feel. And now that you've heard me say them, people are going to be watching what I do.
I mean,
You have to be cognizant of that, I think.
and of course the fun part is that the stuff that he's saying is like in no way like a hot take or like a super controversial thing that's like, ooh, we'll see how that turns. It's
Yeah.
like it's very reasonable, normal things that he's talking. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
maybe people should sleep sometimes.
Yes.
Maybe, yeah. But the fact that it is sort of newsworthy, that
mean-
he's saying these things is kind of the sad part.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? You're right. It's not a hot take, but it's also not. It doesn't feel like the normal take.
Yeah.
Which is worrying.
Yeah.
And I mean, and of course, we're seeing all the all these layoffs in the industry right now that are sort of partially because people did staff up over COVID, not in a temporary, bringing people on,
Yeah.
and then being like, well, go away now, which is not so fun.
And
yeah, so I'm hoping, this is a very, there's the sort of the idea of like, being punished for your own success. So, I mean, Arrowhead and Helldivers is in a very tenuous position right now. It could go either way. They have to be very careful about, making expectations, and that idea of like, you can't build, $10 million worth of servers for your capacity today
Yes.
when you know that your capacity is going to drop.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you can't just sit around being like, nobody can get into the game. So, you have to hit that balance. And where that balance is incredibly difficult. We talked about last week that it's only like this year, like that Sony has been able to actually meet demand for PlayStation 5.
Right.
Because they could have, maybe they couldn't have because of chip shortages or whatever. But like, turning up your manufacturing because a particular thing is in very high demand.
Yeah.
Is great, except then you've bought a whole bunch of manufacturing that maybe you don't need.
Yeah, it's also harder to do than people think because they don't like hold space for people. It's like when a room is being rented out. It's if you don't rent out all the time that you want, other people will come in and rent that time, and they're not just going to be like, oh, we can totally put you in where this other person is. They have other things to manufacture.
Yeah. The only way that you can kind of get through that is to have your own, to have your own fabs, to have the, if part of your thing is manufacturing a physical product, the only way you can actually put your thumb on the scales is to say, I own this manufacturing facility to make my product.
It's not like there's not ways to do it or that they can't necessarily do it, but it's not like you can just say, oh, we should just do that, and then it happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use the washroom. I'm sorry, but I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, you may go do that, I guess.
Thank you. You know why I'm leaving.
We'll cut this part out.
Don't want it to seem weird that I just
won't.
get up and storm out of the room.
Oh,
So
That's
anyway, it's occasionally we report on things that are nice. Although
I mean, it's nice when we get to.
I did, I did the little Photoshop at the end there of like two Johan
the
Pilstead
award of excellence.
for not being an asshole that we know of.
Yeah, that
Because
makes me laugh.
sometimes I was like, maybe after we film this on Thursday, a bunch of stuff will come out.
Or
you never know.
It's just like
You
there's a
never
bunch
know.
of other stuff we didn't
don't-
know
you-
about because it's not.
Like all we know is these statements that he's given. I don't know anything about the guy, but based on solely on that information, it's nice. But who knows what'll happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, I am willing to give this person the benefit of the doubt until such time as that is no longer the thing. Because he seems to be, seems to be on the straight level. Speaking of things that are level, Flipper Zero.
It's a console.
It can be.
It's a handheld device.
It can be anything that your imagination.
I have no idea where this one even came from. It just showed up and.
So Flipper Zero is a thing that's been out for a couple of years now. It's basically this little box it's just got a screen on it, and it's got a bunch of inputs in it, and it's kind of a it has a couple of different Bluetooth and different radios in it where it can read different signals and stuff.
Okay.
It's kind of a turnkey thing for hacking, in the sense of using different wireless things in ways that maybe were not intended to be. Now, not hacking in the sense of necessarily doing things illegal.
Is that what it was intended for?
Yeah, well, yeah. It's intended for, it's the makers would probably call it like a way to sort of explore wireless things, is sort of how you could phrase it. And so, you can do stuff like, cloning like your garage door opener, and then you can use this thing to open your garage door, or you can clone NFT or NFC cards, not NFT, NFC cards,
You're not
and
supposed
use
to
it
be able to clone NFTs, Paul.
and use it to like open the door to your building.
Okay.
Or you can use it to connect up to Bluetooth devices.
Right.
Or you can use it. So it's just basically a little toolkit that has all this stuff.
And thus, someone said, someone will use this to steal cars.
Yeah. Well, so, a lot of cars have wireless entry systems. And so the danger is something like this could be used to basically like take the wireless signal from the wireless entry key and then like use it to open the car door and start the car. Which is something that they've known about for about 15 years.
Yes.
And so they don't, and so the wire, there's a special process in the wireless car starter opener thing that basically cycles the code that it's being sent, which means that basically the technology in the flipper can't do that. No. It can do a lot of things, but that's not one of them.
But politicians and people in charge of making laws think they can.
Yeah. And basically the only way that a flipper could do something like that is if you were like literally standing like between the person doing the thing, clicking the car, and the car, then maybe you could capture the signal. But anyway,
what was the politician's Minister of
Innovation, Science, and Industry, Francois-Philippe Champagne.
Yeah, the minute that Ian started to read off his title, I was just like, oh no, does he actually know any of those things? I'm never sure about the people who have those positions.
But anyway, so, and the idea, so, presumably somebody, it was sort of demoed. There also are like a lot of videos online of people using Flipper Zeros to do things, a lot of which are actually faked, like to like open cars and stuff.
Oh, I mean, the internet is full of fake videos.
And there are devices that can do that.
Sure.
Usually that are sort of cobbled together from various things, but you basically need a more powerful processor and a more powerful antenna than the Flipper Zero has in order to actually make it work.
Mm.
Anyway,
Like a bug, a giant bug.
so
antenna.
so anyway, and then the other part of the story is that because the Flipper Zero, the big thing about it is that it's a very open source thing. Not only is the software on it open source and composed from various open source things, but the Flipper Zero itself, all the components inside it, and it's got like easily accessible and modifiable pin outs and stuff that you can add things to it and mess around with it. And that's kind of the whole point, is you can
There's stuff
mess
you can
around
do with it. It's fun.
and one of the things that people have done with it, somebody made the Flipper Zero console. Basically, they made an attachment thing that contains a Raspberry Pi
Okay.
that plugs into the Flipper Zero and adds a bunch of like memory and a like TV video output.
Okay,
And a
that makes
bunch of
way
other
more
stuff.
sense, because listening to the story, I was just like, is this some sort of Neo Geo Pocket thing, like why that I've just never heard about? Because
No.
there were all kinds of portable devices that we didn't get for a while, like, or were super expensive, or is it like one of those new boutique things, or
So Flipper Zero, so they made so people made a console of it. So I like Ian. What Ian did here is he talked about this. Not since the PlayStation 2, which, if anybody remembers being around that time, there was a whole thing where the idea was that the PlayStation 2 was so powerful that it would be dangerous if it was allowed to be exported, because it could be used as for either code cracking or as a guidance system for missiles.
is that why the PlayStation 2 was one of the best-selling consoles? Like,
Maybe.
people are all secretly hacking it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was the same thing. Like, I remember when the back in the day when like the G3 computers, Apple computers came out. There was also a thing about that where technically they exceeded the limit of, like, again, for sort of code cracking purposes and stuff, they were considered to be like supercomputers, which meant that they couldn't be exported to certain countries that have that don't have a good relationship with the United States. It was an indication that they're powerful computers, but it was more of an indication that law hadn't been updated in a really long time.
Yeah. You have a PS2? You go get it on like launch day, or?
No. I've got I did end up with a PS2 Slim, like way late in the process.
Yeah,
I've got like
okay.
a silver one.
Oh, neat.
But no, I didn't have a PS2. And I do love Ian's conclusion here, which is that from a stealing car standpoint, the PS2 is the better console than the Flipper Zero, because especially the first model PS2 is pretty hefty.
Yeah.
You could smash through a window pretty easily.
I didn't realize they were that thick, because I think the one I ended up with for a short period of time was also like a Slim. So
Yeah,
I was like,
the
wow,
OG
that was a
PS2
box.
was pretty fatty, yeah. Somebody in the comments was saying that because Beej was like, hey, I played Nintendo stuff and they're never been good for that. And some comments was saying that the GameCube actually probably would be quite good. Not only is it quite sturdily built and quite dense, it's got like the handle on it.
Yeah.
So you could really whale that thing pretty
Well,
hard.
and that's the thing. I was thinking, because I've always looked at it like how it would make like a really cool lunchbox if they would bother to make one like that. But you're right, it has the handle on it, which means one in each hand, and now you essentially have like really bulky brass knuckles. Punch cars
plastic
with.
knuckles.
Yeah. I mean, do you really want to go up against a person who's lugging two of those and punching around? Probably not.
Probably not, because not only because they've got two GameCubes, but clearly they are clearly they have nothing to lose, if they've got 2 GameCubes and are ready to punch you with
Yeah,
them.
probably
This is
like,
somebody who
an
who I
orange
don't
one
think I can.
and a black one. Oh no, purple. Because it was like I think we got purple and black beach GameCubes in North America. They were purple, black, and silver.
Yes.
Okay, and then Japan had the orange one.
Correct.
So what you should really look out for is the double trouble of 2 people.
Silver was called
each
platinum.
with their own. So I'm suggesting
Yeah.
with the handle, boxing boxing gloves.
Yeah.
with 2 GameCubes.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'd want to like pad this side for your fists.
Yeah, you
I
probably
think.
added a little padding on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because when you make
Handle.
contact, your hand will move forward. So
Yeah, that's true. Good
Um,
use though. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can pick up GameCubes cheaply now, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the secondhand industry is blown up and it's really hard to get old games, right?
Oh, I see.
Or
Okay.
consoles, right?
People keep using them to steal cars. Is the
Yeah,
problem.
exactly. That's the problem.
Uh,
I mean,
Eh.
the like. Let's be honest. The code name of the GameCube was
A dolphin?
Dolphin, and the Flipper Zero's mascot is
A dolphin.
dolphin.
and I'm
And
just-
dolphins known for car stealing.
known for
Right.
car theft. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're really. I wish you told me earlier. I would have brought some red yarn today for us to play with.
Yeah, that's why those dolphins moved that iceberg into the path of the Titanic. They were trying to steal the Titanic and put wheels on it.
Yeah, but you know that they were coerced by the whales, right?
Yeah,
Because they're the ones with all the money.
yeah, and the dolphins are just jackasses who like to cause trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Killer whales are the real brains behind the whole thing.
What was the coming up?
Coming up was Guitar Life.
Oh, right.
Lesson 1 for Switch, which I like that. We've got there's like Guitar Hero and all these different peripherals,
Yeah.
and all these different things that have different plastic guitar. We've come up with different ways of making a plastic guitar, and this is yet another. This is like the missing link in the evolution between like a Guitar Hero guitar and a real guitar.
Yeah, it does occupy that middle position. I love the look of it because it does remind me a bit of, it has a bit of that, auto harp kind of feeling to it as well.
You can imagine it as like a one of those like 80s synth instruments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It also just looks like it's really like probably a little easier to take around with you. And Switch is a hybrid device, so if you wanted to practice out,
Like if that thing had a if that thing had even I don't care, but just 32 patch bank for guitar sounds and an onboard speaker or a headphone jack. Sold. Like at that I'd be like, yeah, no problem, because Bluetoothing it in and whatever is okay, but even just as a practice guitar that I just have to have a Joy-Con for, that I click into it so it has some way of operating itself, and be like, but you can just sit here, turn on a patch, plug in some headphones, and just be like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. I'd be like, yeah, I'd probably noodle with that for a while too.
Like it's
Yeah.
basically like I guess at that point it would be just sort of like a keytar,
Yeah,
but in a different.
in a more
In a more guitar
approachable
style, yeah.
thing. Yeah, it's like I've been playing more with instrument synths that kind of occupy that the uncanny valley between I can play saxophone on a keyboard, and it's like, yes, you can play everything on a keyboard, versus I have an actual analog saxophone, and it's like occupying the space between. It's like I'm getting more interested in those kind of things, not to the point where I'm like, I want to go spend thousands of dollars on this stuff, but
Some
I blame Dandy Geek for that, by the way. So
I think we can blame him
is that-
for a lot of things.
I
Really
feel-
nice things usually.
some people in the comments and on Discord felt called out by your talking. You're talking about having guitar and not playing it.
yeah, I have 2 guitars and I don't play either of them often enough. So
It's
yeah,
okay. When Beach calls you out, he's also generally calling himself out.
yeah.
So you're in
You're in good company.
a company. I don't want to make the decision of whether or not you decide that's good company for you.
I have a mandolin at home that is still it's in its case, and I'd like to take it out and tune it up and have it on a hanger in my house so I can take it off and learn to play it better. But I have not done that in a while either, because it's awkward to have out a lot of instruments. It's why I have a slat wall now at my house, and I'm trying to buy the hangers to hang stuff on, but they're very expensive. Except that Long and McQuaid has promised me that they're going to add more hangers to their system so they can order them in and I can get them for cheap. Because otherwise I have to buy them direct from the States, and it's going to cost me a fortune. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. So anyway, that's just me getting into my own brain here for a minute.
But that's okay. I think chat likes to see inside every now and then.
Yeah.
It's a nice place to visit.
Yeah. Mandolin's a very different... a mandolin's more like a ukulele in terms of its string order, too. So that's having to flop my brain back and forth when I'm not even like... Maybe it would be good for me to do that. Maybe it would be good for me to learn how to do that more. But yeah.
All right, let's talk about a couple of stories that didn't make it into the episode. Starting with Purge the Unclean.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I think that was I think that was just a Let's Nope topic.
This kind of goes along with our Kill Team streams. We've been playing, Warhammer 40k Kill Team. Well, Warhammer 40,000 is also showing up in Power Wash Simulator.
Where you would expect it to.
Which we knew.
When they say...
But they gave us a release date, right?
Yeah. And when they say Purge the Unclean, they literally mean clean the unclean. You're now...
The walking tanks and the
you actually, it's like it's actually like a full like you have a different, you're actually like a what is there, Adeptus Mechanicus guy with like a special like it's a whole mod bit, or it's like a whole like reskin. Now I have to say, as somebody who very much enjoyed Power Wash Simulator, I have to say I was like a little disappointed in this. Like it's the idea of like doing it in the 40k universe is amazing and hilarious. I will say it's like a $7 DLC. And there's like 5 big tanks that you clean. And I was like, Like I was kind of bummed. I was kind of bummed that there aren't any like environments, because usually Power Wash Simulator kind of alternates between like a thing that you clean and like a room that you clean.
Or even just the outside of a building.
Or outside of a building and stuff. And
there
so
has to be like a building or something that would be.
So I was a little bummed that there are no like environments. I guess in some ways there's that idea is that like the Imperium doesn't care about actual planets and stuff.
They're leaving it more.
They're big robots, so more important.
They're leaving it for the DLC for Viscera cleanup detail.
Yeah.
I guess.
Which to me, actually, I think that would have been very interesting if Power Wash Simulator somehow was like, we're going to take a page out of the Viscera cleanup detail thing, and we're going to have like, where all of the battles were. You have to go around and you have to hose off all the things and get all the bloodstains off the wall and like all that kind of stuff.
I mean, I was still kind of hoping for the inside of a hobby shop where you would power wash a bunch of minis that would go flying. I know that that really wasn't going to be a thing they were going to do, but I wanted at least a little.
That would be great. Yeah.
Just because I think it's funny.
So it seems it seems super cool and stuff. Personally, I don't know if I'll like go for it. With it seems I don't know if it's doesn't feel like quite the substantial package that I was hoping for.
Right. I mean, because if it was like, at least it's only $7. If it was like $20 and you got that, it would feel awful.
That would feel disappointing.
It would feel a little more like Games Workshop though. But if it was $20 and it was actually quite expansive, then that would be great.
I guess. I mean, I will say that my perspective on like Power Wash Simulator is a little skewed because like I played it on like when I had Game Pass, and so I always get a little grumpy about DLC on Game Pass games because it's like I'm subscribed to Game Pass, and then if I like I don't
Stop.
like I stopped paying for game like I've discontinued my Game Pass thing, so I don't even own Power Wash Simulator anymore. If I had bought this, then I'd be like $7, and now I don't have the game that the DLC is for, which is kind of crap. Like I feel like if you're selling, like if you're doing a subscription service, it's like the equivalent. It should be the equivalent of like having the season passes for those games. Like you
Yeah.
should get the DLC with it.
Yeah.
That's what I think anyway. But conveniently, it also would be that, the situation where I don't have to pay any money. So, I'm a little biased, I guess. But I am impressed. I am happy that the Power Wash Simulator people are continually working on stuff and making new things.
I hope they
It's
hit
fun.
up a few more things that I have more interest in.
If they sorry, this is to tag off of your comment though about
Yeah.
Game Pass and DLC. It's like what would be very funny is if they were like, okay, one price for Game Pass, but we've got Game Pass Gold, and if you subscribe to that, then you get all the Season Pass Gold Edition DLC nonsense that would normally come with these games. So you can either have the normal track where you don't get access to any of that, or you can pay a little more every month, and every time a game comes out with that, you would have access to it automatically.
I mean,
That might be harder for them to promise.
I imagine it would be.
I think we're still in the nascent stage of these various game subscription services. They're trying to figure out how the monetization
It's,
system works.
Game Pass doesn't have tiers as far as I know, but it has different options, right? If you're PC only or
It's got PC only, Xbox only, and then both. It's
Yeah.
sort of the two different the different things they have. But they don't yeah.
it's
weird.
not like Sony's weird tier system of
Yeah, they
buy these
don't
tiers,
lock
get
any.
different
There aren't
things.
like some that only get you some games and some that at least
Yeah.
that. Although it's whether if the game didn't come out from PC, then you won't get it. But and some games you do get the DLC because of if the version that goes up on Game Pass is
Yeah.
like the Game of the Year Gold Edition, then
Yeah.
the DLC will be included with it.
Right, yeah, because DLC is usually all packaged into
Right.
that.
I
But it's
realize-
sort of different.
I realize what I proposed is much along the lines of NSO's expansion pack.
Yep.
Where you're like, oh, well, you can pay for a copy of Animal Crossing. Great. Have New Horizons. You can pay for the DLC on its own, or if you have the expansion pack, you get the DLC for free.
Of course, you also in that context you also have to pay for Animal Crossing,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
which in the subscription thing
You
you,
have
theoretically wouldn't have to pay
You
for
have not
Animal Crossing.
described a thing that wouldn't exist
No.
in this era, but maybe
But I-
we don't want it.
But I like that, it is interesting to think that all three gaming companies are trying something a little different in terms of providing online gaming to people. They all have a different
Because
focus? No.
Well, it's because
Ideology.
I mean, as Netflix and lots of other people have figured out, it's tricky because if you are Microsoft or whoever, or your Netflix or whoever, but like if you're a game developer, you make a game and you charge people $60 for the game, and you sell 100 copies, right? You make $6,000 minus whatever else. But whereas Game Pass, and you put a game up on Game Pass, theoretically, you don't Microsoft doesn't actually make any more money on that than they were already making,
yes.
unless the game is so good that people who weren't previously subscribed
Are now
start subscribing.
Yeah.
So I think there's this idea of how much content is needed to keep people subscribed, and to get new people to subscribe. But then I think there's this idea that once people have subscribed, they kind of get forgotten in terms of the marketing and the sort of cost analysis. Like if you think about if it's whether a game was a successful game,
Right.
and you just released it on Game Pass, it must be very difficult for them to evaluate whether the game was actually like a monetary success.
Right.
I mean, they can
Because-
tell how many people
So-
played it on Game Pass,
Yeah.
but they can't tell how many people wouldn't have played it otherwise.
Yeah,
When
there's
you-
the opportunity cost.
Like
yeah.
when you, because I've never used Game Pass, do you have to download the games that you want to play, or are they all just like cloud things? or-
No, you download them all.
Yeah, so they would probably
Like
base
they,
that partially on downloads and stuff.
right. I mean, they know, like, for instance, they know that I played Power Wash Simulator.
Yeah.
What they don't know is whether I would have bought Power Wash Simulator if I didn't have the Game Pass. That's the trick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like when they have to go, if they have to go back and be like, okay, we bought the rights to Power Wash to publish Power Wash Simulator for whatever $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
How much money did we make back from that? That evaluation has got to be pretty tough.
Yeah.
Because if they just evaluate it by how many new people joined Game Pass since they put it out,
Yeah.
it's probably not going to look that good.
Because Microsoft basically has to tell them, here's how many people have downloaded your game. And then hopefully there's analytics as well where you can be like, not only here's who downloaded your game, here's the relative level of hours of what's been played of your game, split. And here's what it looks like per person. Because I think it's in Microsoft's best interest to say, to let developers know that it's like, yeah, you're getting a return on this, on selling us your game to go into the system, because we want you to keep making games and selling them only to us.
And so, but of course the big benefit to the subscription thing is that, they're getting your $20 a month or whatever
Yeah.
every month.
Yeah.
To the point where theoretically it's, more money than you would have spent otherwise, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's much harder to sort of connect that directly to the game in the accounting.
Yeah.
And so I think, developers have talked about this. Like I've seen developers talk, like the people from Larion with Baldur's Gate 3 they talked about why Baldur's Gate 3 is not on any subscription service, at least currently. And his point was that he doesn't think subscription services allow developers. He thinks that they are bad for game development because they don't allow developers to. They don't allow as much sort of variable stuff. Like it's sort of everything is sort of thrown on there. Small games and big games, you aren't charged different amounts. It's just a subscription. So they were
Right, that idea of you're devaluing the concept of a game, because it's like I can play a AAA game that took 3 years to develop. That's a $100 million game, or I can play Threes.
Yeah,
And it's I'm not saying anything shit about Threes, but Threes is not a game that took $10 million to develop.
yeah,
So-
and so it's tough to evaluate that, and I think there's that cost calculation is going to be tricky to work out, and of course in the movie and video TV streaming area, people are dropping like flies and doing different things.
Yeah, that's true.
Amazon's playing ads.
They're all playing ads. They're all upping the costs. I don't know what they expect would happen.
Yeah.
And they're all cracking down on account sharing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean-
well, supposedly, I haven't actually seen that happen, but
I mean,
they
if
keep
Amazon
talking about it.
If Amazon hadn't spent like whatever $450 million on Rings of Power, that probably would have helped the whole process.
Yeah, probably.
But anyway, as a side note, I love, by love in this context I mean hate. That on Amazon Prime now, at least in Canada, it's always DoorDash that you push play. It starts with a DoorDash ad. And it goes, your Amazon video is going to be provided ad-free thanks to this DoorDash
Ad.
Well, it's like, thanks to this message from DoorDash. Like, they don't say it's ad-free thanks to this ad, but it's like, yeah, it's ad-free except for the ad.
For the ad. God damn it.
And for some reason, it's always the same DoorDash ad. I presume that's just because the ad volume in Canada is not great. Anyway,
What's next?
hey, Lady Gaga is going to be in Fortnite,
Great.
Oh, yeah.
which
well, in
the-
Fortnite, the rhythm game,
yes,
not Fortnite, the Fortnite shooty game, right? Because
theoretically
there's
yes.
different parts of Fortnite now you got to go to, unless you
And
do
I
the
guess-
Lego game.
And I guess people, yeah, and certain Fortnite skins are not necessarily cross, like you don't get it necessarily the skin in all the different.
I don't know.
Versions.
To be honest, like I've barely played Fortnite. We did it for that one Rhythm Cafe, and I found the interface loud and confusing and not a thing I wanted to interact with.
The main the sort of main takeaway I had or the take I had of this is like, everybody going like, wait, she wasn't already in Fortnite? Which is kind of
like-
my reaction when like any big celebrity gets
Like,
added to Fortnite.
I
I'm
think
like,
Yeah.
when you add a
I
skin
kind of expect everybody is in Fortnite.
to the Battle Royale game, that there's like a Lego version of it for the thing, and based on what we were playing for the festival thing, I think you might be able to use those skins for your character because you walk into a space with a character holding a guitar or a mic or whatever thing that you've got set up. So maybe I just that wasn't why we played, so we didn't really experiment with that.
The great part about this is how Lady Gaga, very classy way that she announced this, which was back in 2019. She did a tweet that became sort of a meme, which was she just tweeted, "What's Fortnite?"
All right.
Oh right, yeah.
FORTNIGHT, like Fortnite.
Yeah.
And got inundated with stuff and whatever. So now 5 years later, she just tweets asterisk NIT or FORTNITE. Just corrected herself.
Oh my God.
5 years later.
That's very funny.
To indicate that she is now in Fortnite.
She now knows what it is.
Yeah.
All right. So rhythmy.
So yay for her. Yeah. We'll see.
I mean, they could use more songs. We didn't pay for anything because we didn't want to figure out currency and stuff.
You'd think,
but they could use more songs.
I mean, you'd think with harmonics in there, they could load it up a few songs.
I mean, Harmonix might not have all the licensing for that, and I'm pretty sure licensing is per game.
Yeah.
It's true, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, speaking of the whole like everybody's in Fortnite thing, if there's one thing that Epic theoretically knows how to do is licensing things.
I'm just saying, if you had a song and you were like, oh, it's going to Harmonix, and they're putting it in, I don't know, the sports ball game that they made ages ago, you'd probably be like, yeah, okay, we would like a certain amount of money. But if they said, hey, we're going to put it in Fortnite, you probably want a lot more money.
It's true. It's true.
It's
Yeah.
funny too because if you were like a struggling up and coming artist, I imagine if they had a community submission mode, so you could say, I've written a song, I want to put it into Fortnite.
Which
And-
Rock Band had.
Yeah, right. That's allowed you to do that kind of thing. That I can totally see indies doing that kind of thing, to be like, you know what, F it, just get the music into Fortnite, because we'll never be asked to come play a set there, right? Well, they're never going to have us come in and do like a concert for 50 million people
Sure.
playing Fortnite. But if we can get our song into the rhythm game in that game, then it's probably worth it just in terms of viral marketing, to be like, oh, you want some more songs to play? This one's now free of charge to play in the
What
thing.
you're describing is exposure.
Yeah,
And-
it sucks. I get that. It's the worst.
And yeah, that's probably true. But
Yeah.
I mean, Fortnite, Epic has been working on like a Fortnite, like user content store anyway. So.
yeah, and it's not to say that they won't pull in those things, but when you're trying to get people to come to a rhythm game like that, you're trying to show off that you have music that people already know.
Yeah.
Yeah, your music selection is really the big.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, right? Is like because Harmonix could take the tack where it's like it might be cheaper for us to license stuff from indies, and then we can actually create the beat maps from it. But then we have to be finding indies that are actually good. And then what are we? Now we're a record label. Right? Now we're tastemakers trying to find dozens of artists that nobody's heard of that still make good music, and that can be even tougher.
You know what would have been really helpful for that?
What's that?
Bandcamp,
How about that?
which Epic owned up until last year.
Yeah. That would have been neat.
Oops, whoops.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of things that are 5 years old,
Do we have to talk about all the 5-year-old things?
Gigantic
Sounds big,
is a
if true.
MOBA shooter game
Okay.
that launched back at the end of 2018,
Is it not dead yet?
and then was closed down less than a year later.
Oh, so it's dead.
It's been dead for a while. Paul, why are you talking about it?
Except it's back.
Oh my God.
Is it zombie now?
Gigantic Rampage Edition.
Is that what happens when a shooter game like falls off its surface when they bring it back?
If you don't
It's
shut it
just-
down correctly,
it's just a zombie game.
Yeah, it escapes the box. Yeah.
Is that how we get the zombie games at all?
And in a dramatic turn of events, the original one was when it originally came out, it was a free to play live servicey type thing. This Rampage Edition is actually going to be a $20 game and no live service stuff. It's just going to be a $20 online game.
That is a very different
Going
strategy.
kind of going and bucking the trends.
Like $20 a month or just
No, it's
No,
just
no,
going
no,
to
it's
cost
a one
20, it's just
time
going to
you-
cost
you pay
$20.
the
Wow,
thing and-
okay.
and then you're done.
yeah, okay, neat.
It'll feature new content, and it will come. It's coming out on April 9th for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Windows, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. So older consoles as well, which is kind of fun. Closed beta is actually out. It's starting now, so I guess you might have an option to sign up for it. Well, it's probably too late now.
But probably too late. Our show is not good for finding out about joining betas.
So it's Gigantic. It's like a third person shooter, but it's a MOBA thing where like you're pushing lanes and
Okay.
fighting guys and stuff.
Interesting.
Anyway, apparently, it was one of those games that had a vocal following, and it had sort of some cool, unique things. I don't know. It's sort of like why it's being brought, like why it's being brought back at this point, and redone. Because it's a different company that's bringing it back.
Oh, wait, what? Okay.
Just I love though that you said why like 4 times
Yeah,
in succession.
Why?
And it is weird. Why
Like-
has another company decided to purchase this? Maybe they're owed it or something.
Did they get
That's
acquired by, well, not Embracer, but maybe somewhere else?
THQ Nordic?
Abstraction
embraced
and
by
Gearbox
Okay.
are the people who are bringing it back. It was originally made by Motiga.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if like Motiga is no longer existing or what.
The co-creator seems very happy that it is coming back.
But they're happy that it's coming back. So yeah, just the idea that like that there are so many games that come out every year, especially online games that collapse for any number of reasons. So I mean, the idea that it's like, let's go and try one of those again.
Right.
That the reason, I guess the idea is that maybe the reason why that one failed wasn't anything to do with the game. It was other circumstances surrounding it.
But we've had it seems like we're having so I heard recently Apex Legends apparently is having, which has never really gone away, has had some changes made, and I saw people in our friend Slack talking about the fact that it's like, hey, anyone want to get in on Apex again for like maybe try that out for a week or two and just see how it's going? And like, wait, seriously, Apex? Yeah, they're getting an update with some stuff. And then Overwatch 2 being like, oh, we're doing a lot of things and we're going to rebalance an entire character and we're going to do some other things. And like this comes again, goes all the way back to Rainbow Six Siege in my mind, right? Where it's like a game that came out, it made a bit of a impact, but went away quickly, and then people are like, "I'm rediscovering this game," and now everybody wants to play it again. And this is a case of there was this game and it went away completely, and then some companies are being like, "Well, actually, it was a really good game. What if we gave it a second shot?" And it does start to make me feel like there's probably even a business model for this kind of thing. Like GOG kind of takes over that a tiny bit, where they're like, here's old games that you liked that you haven't played in forever.
I know I forget what the name of it is now. I know there was a company that was doing things where they were like running legacy servers for things that were the real server had shut down. But I mean, it's with what I always say about online games, like it's with online games in particular. It's a tough deal because it's like it's a zero sum game, a zero sum prospect in the sense of
if I have your attention and Paul does not,
and when you're designing these games that are basically supposed to be, the idea is that people are playing it forever.
Yes. Yeah.
This isn't Mario Wonder where there's 20 hours of gameplay and then you're done and you move on to the next thing.
Well, because ideally,
and so, but
if you're playing it forever and you're paying that subscription cost, we don't have to make another game and get your attention again.
Yeah. But
ideally,
it's like the only way people are going to start playing Gigantic is if they stop playing another game.
Yes.
Like there's a certain amount of time people have in their day to play video games. And because these games don't have an end, it's not like you sort of are playing them sequentially.
Yeah.
And so it's a for every user that your new MOBA or your new MMO has, you're taking a user from another one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Probably. There's maybe some new stuff.
And it's not like it was when we had only a few like MMOs in town.
Right.
Everyone was playing WoW, and then everyone left over was playing a few other games. It's like there are hundreds of games that operate in this space that are like, hey, I'm gonna play League, or I'm gonna play Dota, or I'm gonna play all these different things.
Probably not hundreds. They keep shutting down.
Yeah,
well, that's true. But
there have been over the years.
But what I mean is that there's always new ones that are trying to come out and make an impact, and people go play them for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they fall off of them and they go back to what they're playing before.
But I feel like the people who already have the eyeballs already are aware that like this is a thing, which is why they keep trying to put out new expansion packs that seem very exciting.
They got to keep it
because they got to keep people.
Yeah.
And if they lose people to another game, that's going to be harder for them to get people back.
Yeah.
But becoming a new game and coming in, like it feels like nobody's learned the lesson yet of that's just not happening most of the time.
Yeah.
And especially in the world of either MMOs or the sort of MOBA style games where there's not only do you have to capture a player, but the game there's a critical mass of people that you need to make the game work at all.
Yes,
you need to have enough people so that matchmaking works and
that's
all this
why
other
we have
stuff.
We have robots,
right? And so bots
stuff.
will
And some people don't like it when robots are there or whatever. When we played that Pigeon Rhythm game, that was an online game.
Oh, really?
There was a point where we were most of the people who were playing were robots, and you could tell because all the pigeons were dressed as robots.
Oh, so they at
least
they weren't hiding it. Yeah,
but it's also, I don't know. To me, it didn't matter that I was playing against robots because it's just a rhythm game. It's kind of like you're doing the best that you can in different ways. Anyway, it's Fall Guys with pigeons and rhythm games. Like Headbangers was a lot of fun.
I remember reading a story a couple months ago That's actually a thing in Fortnite. Is that again games will be filled out or different situations will happen where there's bots, and players actually pretend to be bots is a strategy.
Yeah, that is a thing.
So you pretend to be a bot, as in you move in a very predictable way, and then suddenly go bam.
Yeah.
And so like the other person's like, oh, it's a bot, I know what to do.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you get them,
Yeah.
which is kind of brilliant.
It's
Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, from all the comments that I've read, like both on the stories about this gigantic coming back, like the comments on the stories and various things on the trailer on YouTube and stuff, it seems like people are stoked about it. Like this is one of those games that I think people have very fond memories of. Even though it was brief.
Yeah. And
so we'll see if it can come back.
Well, and I wonder too if there isn't a bit of the underdog effect here, where you naturally cheer for something. It's like this went away, and we're bringing it back.
Never really got a fair shake.
And because I'm sitting here thinking, well, it must have been good, because if it went away, and somebody said no, we can't let this thing die like this. For whatever myriad of reasons, maybe because it wasn't very good, we have to bring it back. That makes me question, well, maybe it was actually a pretty good game, and therefore bringing it back is interesting or important.
This is probably not true.
Yeah.
But my imagination is that, like the game, there's like, we're not making a go of it. Servers cost too much. We have to shut this game down.
Yeah.
But then, like, for the past 5 years, they've just been like, every weekend playing the game internally, just being like, this is so fun.
Yeah.
It's like, we got to actually, it's like.
They're giving review copies to their buddies, and they're all just playing it kind of privately.
Yeah.
And like, there's a bunch of people here and there. God, that'd be a way to build a viral success. You do it like you do with when Blue Sky and all those other stupid social networks were like, we're going to limit the amount of access to this thing. And then, but slowly the codes make their way out to other people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's sort of what private betas are.
Yeah.
I wanna tell you that Blue Sky is not viral. It's also completely open now.
Yes.
And
but like in the beginning, a lot of those
mostly it rose because X did not.
Yeah.
X fell.
Yes.
Now, if all the other MOBA games were to fall.
But what I mean is, okay, what I'm trying to say is that if it was one of these things where as you say, they took the game private because they're like, we can't support the servers, so we can't support the thousands of servers. But then they're like slowly saying, actually, if you bought the game, here's a code so you can get it to play. Don't tell anybody. That's only good for one, for one person. Yeah. And then you slowly start cranking out more and more things. The next thing you know, everyone's trying to get access to this game.
And I think we can start there, but I think we also need the B plot of this plan, where we also send out espionage agents to take out the other games, so that there are not only more servers available, but more headspace.
It's like in Forrest Gump, where they go out fishing, and then like every other fishing boat gets destroyed.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they're like, hey, we're doing really well.
Yeah, exactly. How about that?
Anyway. There's a story here about a model. I think we talked about this in the outro. A model of the Sheikah slate from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, the first four figures made a $600. The big one's $600. The fanciest one is that much, and it's a life-size sort of Sheikah slate.
Collector's item Sheikah slate.
Everything from that company is not on is a lot of money generally.
Yeah. And it just made me sad because it was like the Sheikah slate is clearly like it was a launch title for the Breath of the Wild was a launch title for the Switch, and your character uses a thing that basically looks like a Switch.
Yeah.
In the thing, right? That's intentional. And just you have the
Purapad and Tears of the Kingdom.
You have the Purapad, or in like the WiiWare games, You've got
Oh,
the
yeah.
like things that's like, oh, take the block and do it, whatever.
Nintendo Land actually has a lot of that built in, where
Yeah.
where the people when you're playing in Nintendo Land, your avatar and the thing might be holding on to a Wii U gamepad if you are playing with a Wii U gamepad.
So it's like it's clearly supposed to be that, and it's like we don't have the magical powers, but we have the tablet technology.
Absolutely.
Like that exists. You could make one that either you put a switch in, or you put like an iPad mini or like a little tablet or whatever, and you could have like a little web app or a little app that you could download that would make beepy boopy noises, or do something
Yeah,
cool.
I don't think
Take
that's
pictures.
generally in first four figures
It's just
MO.
it's just to make a really expensive model, and then of a thing that's like an electronic pad, and it's like we could do that. You could just make it an electronic pad.
Yeah.
It's like it's like in they have the pads in like Star Trek. I always love that though, where they have like the pads in Star Trek,
Oh, yeah.
and somebody's like, "I've got a lot of I have a lot of reports," and they literally have
A dozen of them.
stack
Yeah.
of pads, like they're pieces of paper.
Yeah. Which tells
But it's like if somebody made a replica pad from Star Trek, and it was just a thing that goes boopy boopy,
Yeah.
and like has lights on it, I'd be very disappointed because it's like we have those.
Yeah. God, I remember being pissed off
We
when
can make those.
when I was a kid and I got like a Star Trek tricorder, the plastic like Playmates Star Trek tricorder, and I was just like, this is so sad that almost the entire thing is nothing but plastic. That I'm like, it's got 3 LED lights on it, and it makes sound when you press the 2 buttons that are on there, and I'm like, and that's it. And I'm like, man, you could have put in just a few more lights and done something a little more interesting here, but you didn't. You went for the barest minimum amount of stuff you could do that would still make it feel like it's a fun little toy.
How,
I'm like,
how
if you
old
just,
were you when you got this? Again?
I don't know, about 14. Anyway,
Yeah, you've never changed.
17. Anyway, but I was like, there's more you could have done with this. I still have it, and yeah, it's the same thing. It's like the Star Trek pad of just having dozens of them laying around. At the time when the iPad came out, I think we were all like, lol, that's hilarious that they just had a bunch of them just sitting around on desks.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I'm like, no, because Star Trek is such a post-scarcity environment that nobody thinks anything of just printing, like of just replicating a pad that only has the one function or only has certain things on it. And maybe that's because you're like, it's like handing someone a notebook. It's like, well, here's the notebook where I kept all these notes in. It's like, yeah, sure. And you just drop it in the little container that's in the room and somebody picks it up later so they can do their work on it. It's like all that stays concentrated onto that one device because that's the only thing that device is ever supposed to do. I like that idea.
And that's the thing, because you're equating it to an iPad. But in this day and age, when we have the iPad, what we also have is a whole bunch of other devices that are only meant for writing, that are meant to be minimalistic, that will not have these things, that will not connect to the internet. And they are more akin to the Star Trek
It's more like a Kindle or something.
Yeah, I think it's
even more stripped than that.
What's the name of that writing?
Oh,
not the Boogie Board, but there's like that other writing thing, the Remarkable.
Yeah, the Remarkable.
And Remarkable 2, I guess, is the new one. And like you might, Christ, we have an iPad that's on our the Studio C Preview TV stack that all it does is display a clock normally, and then when we are live, it shows us what scene that we're on and shows us how long we've been on it. That's all that iPad does.
I think it's all it can do now.
It's a very, very old iPad. We had no other thing to do with it.
It is an iPad 1, in fact. It is an OG iPad.
And it's like gone from being general purpose to being special purpose.
I mean, it turns out that a big screen connected to a web browser that can go on the internet and it can connect over Wi-Fi is actually super useful for all sorts of things.
Yeah, and is battery powered and can kind of stay on by itself when it needs to. It's like there's so much that it's like, yeah, that thing, I feel like that's the pad. That thing that we see there is like, that's what's going to happen, is there's just going to be thousands of these things floating about that people are just going to do little stupid shit on, and that's all they're good for.
And then they throw them away.
And then they just throw them back. They throw them in the incinerator or the matter recycler or something. And
yeah, there's
they just leave them like strewn around
Yeah,
the deck.
stacked 10 high on Picard's desk. He has no idea what they are. Yeah.
I loved it. Like, I loved that scene, the scene that has like never happened in a Star Trek thing, of like somebody with a big stack of pads and then like they pull one and the whole thing falls over. Why have they never done that?
They've gotten close where it's just like strewn all over Riker's desk in his like home office. It's just like, here's my whole stack of whatever the hell, and it's like, yeah, but never like, oh, I take one out and it just falls on the floor.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
really
I have
good.
seen scenes in like, I swear it's like Voyager or whatever, where she's only got like the single pad. And she's like, oh, I have so much paperwork to do.
Yeah.
But there's something about, especially at that time period, like, and we do this with our own filming, right? When someone says they have a lot of a thing, you
the
want to
visual
see
shorthand.
the visual,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You don't believe them if you can't see it.
Exactly. It's the same way that, there's all of those sort of visual shorthands. Like a bag of groceries must always have a baguette sitting at the top. Yeah.
It's part of the rules.
Anyway.
Even if you're celiac, you must have bought a baguette.
It comes free, I think.
God, I want to just put that now into a Commodore Hustle. Being like, coming home, being like, why did I buy this baguette? I'm celiac, Jesus, and just throw it away.
The Ubisoft or Ubisoft, I forget. I think it's supposed to be Ubisoft.
Ubisoft, yeah, I'll say that.
Continues to be under some scrutiny because
What they do now?
Well,
Or is this more of the old?
well, this is probably closely related to the old. There is at least this story hasn't been updated, so I would assume this is still the case that there's a strike going on at Ubisoft in France. About 700 employees are on strike, and because they're looking for better wages because apparently they offered raises between 2 to 3%, which didn't even
Cover inflation.
cover like inflation and stuff. Yeah, so they were extremely unhappy about that. And I mean, it's nice that the combination that probably of I think almost any country, France has this has a culture of not taking shit from that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Which I respect.
I mean, aren't
Sometimes
they,
it results in lighting cars on fire and stuff.
Aren't they also?
But when they
like-
do things, when the government does things they don't like, they tell them.
Sometimes it results in.
Aren't they also the group that tends to, when they go on strike, have barbecues?
Yes.
And
They-
feed people.
they know
and,
how to do it
like,
right.
They have
Yeah.
like a picnic.
Yeah,
While
they,
they're striking?
they have the dude who built the grill that rides on the tramway rails, so as they're marching, he can be cooking and give people sausage on a bun and whatever, and it's or whatever they like. I don't know, croque little boy, croque garçon, whatever. It's been so long since I've had any French in my brain, it seems. But I love that. Yeah, it's like the French do their strikes right. Like I think they really nail it. I hope they get like some satisfaction from this.
Yeah, we'll see.
get more money
As of
from
this article, Ubisoft has not responded
No.
to it. They're asking for a 5% raise, which is This is a translation of their document, which is obviously in French. It's talking about how video game employees are already underpaid compared to people with similar qualifications, and the fact that Ubisoft has been doing quite profitably. Blah blah blah. Our employer has benefited from a monumental income during the successive confinements. This is some of the translations don't quite work out so well.
No, can we call it that from now on?
Since our 3 years in the oubliettes.
We cannot tolerate being treated as expendable to mitigate their bad decisions. Right, because Ubisoft is also the people who are like, there was that
they
probably like a year ago or something where
The federal courts or
no where Yves Guillemot, the CEO, was like, you're just gonna have to work harder or something like that. Like he had a really bad take.
That one.
yeah. That's good.
And it was like, so, and everyone was like, so we're being punished because you guys like made some bad calls. That's where we're at here. Okay, cool.
You need to work better.
Anyway, so good luck to the
name of the union.
Yeah, they're part of a larger the STJV.
STJV. I don't remember how all the letters work in French again, Paul.
I don't think either of us are going to be able to help you with that.
V. Learn from Beej, it says.
Yeah,
what
it also
Learnbot
says
tells
that in response to bad advice.
I see the thing that says advice.
No, that's the other one.
Oh.
The one that says you're here.
You're right here. You're right here.
I am right.
Don't listen to Beej, he says words.
I hate articles that have an acronym and then never actually give what the word is. What
Société Vocation is probably the V. I'm just going to look it up.
Hey,
Hi.
let's to end on a fun note.
Yeah.
This is news in the sense of something that I have learned about. I don't think it is something that is the first time it's happened, but this is the first time I've seen a news article about it. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, obviously, very very popular game. Lots of people, they do tournaments for it all over the place.
And Mario Kart 8 has been out for how many years now, including Deluxe?
Oh,
very long time.
From the beginning?
At least 11?
It's a Wii U game.
Yeah, 11
Yeah.
maybe? Yeah.
But a group in Oklahoma City has started doing Mario Kart 8 Live, which it's not kart racing, unfortunately, but it is
Playing Mario Kart.
Yeah, it is a Mario Kart 8 tournament.
Okay.
With the music and sound effects for the game being provided by a live jazz band.
That is hard as hell.
Neat.
Here I can. Apparently they haven't learned the music for all the levels yet, so they're just sometimes they're just kind of riffing.
That's fair.
But anyway,
That's
that's just a
super
little
cool.
clip. Seems like a good time, a good way to spend an evening. The fact that they're doing like the sound effects of like the starting.
Oh yeah, in the
things and stuff,
saxophone.
yeah.
When I heard that, I was like, "Ooh,
Honk,
that's good."
honk, honk, beep.
They might need a bit bigger of a horn section though. But
Yeah, I think it's just like a 5-person group or something. But
good.
Did you hear what Japan got in their direct that we didn't get
they
Mother 3.
for NSO?
Mother 3.
Mother 3. They also announced that they're doing Mother 3 merch.
Oh, good. Well,
Like
yeah,
little
but they've
plushies
done that
of the
before.
characters,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you
Well,
get
sure.
Okay.
But
Still.
but I bring this up because if you have an NSO account and you have a Japanese account, you can technically, you might not understand anything that's happening.
Yeah. Only
It's
Japan.
Mother 3 only in Japan. Yeah, I was gonna actually like mark that because there's sort of the meme of Mother 3 never being
Yeah.
Well,
brought
because
out.
it's such a big meme that
But-
like people still is it Metroid that everyone asks Reggie about, or is it Mother?
It is Mother 3.
It's
Yeah.
Mother 3, but it's specifically the translation of it is
Yeah.
what people want. Because like it's been on Virtual Console before.
Yeah.
Again, only in Japan though. And I actually saw a story just today that like people keep asking the maker of the Mother series. I forget what his name is, but
Shigesato Itoi.
yeah, he kept asking him about like, hey, when is there going to be a translation? He's like, ask Nintendo.
Yeah, like he is literally. There was an English language article that had come out that's like stop asking the creator of Mother when Mother 3 is coming to, and it had the subhead is it's not Itoi's decision.
Yeah.
And then Reggie had tweeted that a screen cap of that being like it's not mine anymore either.
I mean, he definitely like. I know he made some tweets that was
Yeah,
like,
to be fair,
I
he
have a
kind of
copy.
trolled people with it.
Yeah.
So.
I have a copy, and every time someone asks, it doesn't get played.
Yeah.
Or like I don't know something. weird like
I
that.
delay it 5 more days or whatever, that kind of idea. But it's, I mean, even like old Uncle Dan says it was at one time, and it's like, well, I mean, in a technical sense, if he really wanted to push for it, I'm sure that
He could have pushed for it,
but I'm sure there's a lot of
but
reasons he knows why they can't do it.
The Nintendo of America is much more a PR marketing arm of Nintendo than it is
Yeah.
like
They are a sales division.
I wouldn't say they don't have any influence over trying to get things over here,
Yeah.
but it's small.
Yeah.
It's really not going to be up.
So
to
my
them.
prediction is that in the next 5 years, Mother 3 will have an English translation and come to NSO in Europe only. That'll be in
Wow.
keeping in line with everything else that they have ever done to fuck North America on releases. That'll be what happens.
That's what you're going to go with.
So there is
You
Yeah.
said 5 years?
In 5 years, Mother 3 will get English patch on NSO. It'll only be
Because the prediction
whenever the new version of the
prediction
Switch is,
I heard from a podcast was their theory was because it's the music that everyone theorizes is the problem.
Yeah.
But that they think the laws in Japan are different, which is why it's fine there, and so we need to wait like 50 years. So your prediction's actually nicer.
Yeah, probably. And also, I mean, I see Captain Spam says Nintendo Store remembers how badly Earthbound sold over here, right, in North America. But if that was the case, there would have been even a less chance of them releasing Earthbound on the Wii U as part of Virtual Console as something you could buy and download. And also, there would have been no reason for them to make an English translation patch of Mother, of the original Mother of Earthbound Zero, Earthbound Beginnings, whatever you want to call it.
I find a lot of times people just want to argue numbers whenever a thing does or doesn't do a thing.
Yeah.
I will say that I have a strong suspicion that the excitement for the idea of like this pent up demand for Mother 3 might be kind of a snakes on the plane thing.
Yeah.
In the sense that
It's just very fun to bitch about it now.
yeah, it's like okay.
Yeah.
We spent all the money to get a proper translation, did a whole bunch of work on it. Here you go, and people are like, no,
Yeah.
you don't actually want it.
Yeah.
It was just fun to it was just a meme.
There is a circle of people, don't get us wrong, that do actually want this. The larger circle of people are probably just enjoying it as
and it's like maybe 15 years ago,
Yeah.
that would have been a larger group of people.
Yeah.
But it's a very old game now.
Yeah, I want to play it like in English. I mean, I can get an English translation patch for it.
Yeah, there are apparently quite good English translation patches.
The fact that I haven't played it, despite the availability of English translation patch, should demonstrate to you how much I'm actually driven to play it.
I will say, I didn't really play console stuff when it was in the Super Nintendo era.
Mm-hmm.
I did it's probably 5 years ago or so, tried to like boot up and play Earthbound because of thing, and I didn't stick with it.
Yeah,
And
fair.
it's just it's just quite old. It's just a really old game.
Yes.
And so it was just hard to get into, and unfortunately that's the case. That sometimes maybe we'll get the Mother 3 Redux or whatever.
Oh, that would be good. Yeah.
Remotherfied. I don't know.
I
We'll get the
I would take
the
that,
full
actually.
the 3D remake.
God, if they did that like the way they did Link's Awakening,
Oh, that'd be cool.
That would be
Yeah,
kind
that
of
would be cute.
amazing. Mother 3, Redux or whatever, and it's
With the toy-like looking.
new music,
suit
new
that, you would
everything.
think.
Just reboot the thing from there. That would be very interesting.
Mother 4.
Yeah, that would actually
I mean,
just be better.
there are going to be people who want that too. Like, I don't begrudge anyone for wanting.
But we
I have so many old games that I would like them to bring back. That
Yeah,
We
of
technically
course.
have
You
Mother
know.
4 though. Like we already have Mother
we?
4. We have Undertale. That is quite
That's-
literally like a spiritual successor
Yeah,
to that,
I
made
don't
by a
think
completely
it's
new
not.
person,
I was
different
gonna say,
whatever.
that's not the same.
Saying that's literally Mother 4, I think, is maybe going a little far.
Yeah, it was. I mean, very heavily influenced by that.
Sure, yeah.
Heavily influenced by,
But
sure.
that's not even like Bloodstained being like Castlevania because the person who made Castlevania went and made their own thing. That's just no.
I mean, Kojima going off on his own and making his own new games about stuff. You can't really say that's a follow-on to Metal Gear because it's not. Death Stranding was nothing like Metal Gear, except for the part where it didn't make any sense. But
Speaking of which,
yeah,
a documentary about Death Stranding and Hideo Kojima
yeah.
just came out on Disney Plus. I haven't seen it, but I was like, maybe this will explain what happens in Death Stranding. I say as someone who's played Death Stranding.
It might not. I don't know if it'll
what
help you.
Kojima was doing during Death Stranding.
Maybe it'll make some of it make sense as to why it went that way. I don't know if it'll explain why, the story bits.
Uncle Dan, I have no idea even who Matt Pat is. I don't know what that's even. I don't know who that person is. I'm assuming it's a YouTube channel. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway,
You don't watch YouTube,
I don't. You're right.
except you do heavily. Just
So much. Oh my god.
all right.
I have 7 channels that are my best friends. Anyway.
Those are all the stories that seemed worthwhile talking about this week.
Great.
Thanks for joining us. If you haven't seen the episode of ChillPoint yet, with Beach and Ian hosting, you should check it out. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's probably somewhere near the video.
it might
on
even
the
be in your
sidebar
room.
or something, or it might be behind you.
Oh, don't let ChillPoint get behind you. That's not a good idea. But you could go to patreon.com/loadingreadyrun.
Yeah, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Support us and all the silly things that we do around here. But for now, we will talk to all y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.